Snow drifted past the tall windows of the Grand Hotel Café as Adrian Westbrook sat alone at his usual corner table, watching the Christmas shoppers hurry by outside. At 32, he ran Westbrook Financial, managing investments for some of the wealthiest families in the city. The café was a sanctuary, a quiet place where nobody recognized him or wanted anything from him. The holiday season made his loneliness more acute. Around him, couples laughed over coffee. Families gathered for hot chocolate. Friends exchanged gifts. Adrian had his laptop, his espresso, and the view of falling snow. That's when he noticed her. A young woman, maybe mid-20s, stood near the entrance, holding a worn canvas bag and looking uncertain. She wore a simple gray cardigan over jeans, practical winter boots that had seen better days. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she clutched what looked like a newspaper under her arm. The café was nearly full, every table occupied by the holiday crowd. She scanned the room with visible anxiety, clearly needing a place to sit, but intimidated by the elegant surroundings. The Grand Hotel Café wasn't technically exclusive, but it might as well have been. $20 entrees, $8 coffees, crystal chandeliers catching the Christmas lights. The kind of place where your clothes announced whether you belonged. Adrian watched her approach the hostess stand. He couldn't hear the conversation, but he saw the young woman gesture toward the busy tables, saw the hostess shake her head apologetically. No available seating. The woman's shoulders sagged. She turned to leave, then noticed the empty chair across from Adrian. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Adrian saw her hesitate, calculating. Then she squared her shoulders and walked toward his table. "Excuse me," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I know this is probably a strange question, but is this seat only for the rich?" Adrian blinked, surprised by her directness. "I'm sorry." She gestured at the elegant room, the well-dressed patrons, her own modest appearance. "This place. It's beautiful, obviously expensive. I just need somewhere warm to sit for an hour, maybe order a coffee, but I don't want to take a table. Someone else needs, and I definitely can't afford most of the menu." She met his eyes steadily. "So I'm asking honestly, is this seat reserved for people who belong here, or can anyone sit down?" The brutal honesty disarmed him completely. Most people pretended, performed, maintained the illusion that they belonged everywhere. This woman was simply stating her reality. "Please," Adrian said, closing his laptop. "Sit down. The seat isn't reserved for anyone." She sat gratefully, setting her bag on the floor. Up close, Adrian could see she was probably coming from work. Her clothes were neat but worn, her hands had small cuts like she worked with them, and exhaustion shadowed her eyes. "Thank you. I'm sorry for the weird question. I've just learned that some places have unwritten rules about who's welcome." She smiled slightly. "I'm Isabella, Adrian, and you can ask for whatever you want. It's just a café. A café where coffee costs $8, Isabella said wryly, studying the menu. "I usually make my own, but my apartment lost heat this morning. Tenants can't come until tonight, and the library closed early for the holiday. I just needed somewhere warm." Adrian felt something tighten in his chest. While he'd been sitting here for 2 hours because he had nothing better to do, she'd been calculating whether she could afford to not freeze. "Order whatever you want," he said. "My treat." Isabella's expression became guarded. "That's kind, but I don't accept charity." "It's not charity. Consider it payment for keeping me company. I've been sitting here alone for 2 hours being antisocial. You're doing me a favor." She studied him skeptically. "You don't look like someone who needs company forced on you." Me, that's exactly my problem." Isabella considered this, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but just coffee, and I'm buying next time." "Deal." When the server came, Isabella ordered the cheapest item, black coffee. Adrian ordered her a sandwich too, ignoring her protest. "You mentioned coming from work," Adrian said. "What do you do?" "I restore furniture, old pieces, antiques, things people throw away. I sand them down, repair damage, refinish them. Then I sell them online or at markets." Her face lit up talking about it. "Most people see junk. I see potential." "That sounds incredible. How did you get into that?" "Necessity, mostly. I couldn't afford new furniture, so I learned to fix old stuff. Turned out I loved it. There's something satisfying about taking something broken and making it beautiful again. They talked while snow continued to fall outside. Isabella told him about learning her craft through YouTube videos and trial and error, about finding pieces at estate sales and curbsides, about the satisfaction of seeing transformation. Adrian found himself sharing things he rarely discussed. The pressure of his work, the emptiness of managing other people's wealth while feeling like his own life had no real purpose. The way success had isolated him from genuine connection. That's the trap, isn't it? Isabella said thoughtfully. The more successful you become, the harder it is to know if people like you or your success. Exactly. Everyone wants something. Investment advice, introductions, favors. Nobody just wants to have coffee. I just want coffee, Isabella said, with a slight smile. Well, and to not freeze. But mostly coffee. Ian laughed, surprising himself. When had he last laughed? Genuinely? An hour passed, then two. The cafe began to empty as the dinner rush approached. Isabella glanced at her phone. I should go check if my heat's fixed. Thank you for this. Truly, you made a cold day much warmer. Wait, Adrian said, as she stood. Can I ask you something? Why did you really come over here? There were other tables with empty seats. Isabella smiled. Because you looked lonely. Everyone else here is with someone, celebrating something, distracted by their lives. You were just sitting here watching the snow, like you were waiting for something to happen. I thought maybe we could both use the company. The observation struck him silent. She'd seen through him instantly. Here, Isabella handed him a business card, handwritten on recycled cardboard. If you ever need furniture restored, or if you want to grab coffee again, somewhere cheaper next time. After she left, Adrian sat holding the card, watching her walk into the snowy evening. Then he did something impulsive. He called his assistant. Cancel my afternoon meetings. I need you to find someone for me. Isabella, furniture restoration, works in the city. See what you can find out about her business. 3 days later, Adrian showed up at the address his assistant had found. A small workshop in a converted warehouse, filled with furniture in various stages of restoration. Isabella looked up from sanding a chair, surprise crossing her face. The coffee guy. Did you get lost? I had a business proposition. Can we talk? Over the next hour, Adrian proposed something he'd never done before. He wanted to invest in her business, help her scale up, get a proper storefront, hire help. Not as charity, but as a real investment. Why? Isabella asked suspiciously. You barely know me, because you see potential in broken things and make them beautiful. That's rare. And because for the first time in years, someone asked me an honest question, expecting an honest answer. You didn't perform or pretend. You were just yourself. He paused. I want to invest in people who are real. I'm tired of investing in people who aren't. Isabella was quiet for a long moment. If I accept, I pay you back with interest. This is business, not rescue, greed. They shook hands, and Adrian found himself smiling. Not the polite smile he used in board meetings, but something genuine. Over the next year, Isabella's business flourished. With proper funding, she expanded, hired 3 employees, opened a beautiful showroom. Her work was featured in design magazines. She repaid Adrian's investment ahead of schedule. But more importantly, they became friends. Real friends. Isabella invited him to her workshop, taught him basic restoration techniques, made him sand furniture until his hands hurt. She introduced him to her friends, normal people with normal problems. And Adrian rediscovered what it meant to be part of a community. On Christmas Eve, 1 year after their first meeting, Adrian invited Isabella back to the Grand Hotel Cafe. Same table, same falling snow outside. Remember when you asked if the seat was only for the rich? Adrian said, I remember thinking you'd tell me to leave. I'm glad you asked anyway. That question changed my life. You changed my life. Isabella reached across the table, taking his hand. What had started as an unexpected friendship had quietly become something more. The seat was never for the rich, Adrian said softly. It was just waiting for the right person. Someone honest enough to ask the question nobody else would. Is this seat taken? Isabella had asked a year ago. It is now, Adrian answered. In the present. Knowing he never wanted it to be empty again. If this story warmed your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of unexpected connection. Comment below about a time honest words changed everything.